right, lots of folks in here. All right, so today we're going to be working on Bluebeam Studio. So this is a part of Bluebeam Review that hopefully you're using. So we'll walk through how to get that set up, how to use the various functions of it, and how you might want to start using that on your next project. My name is Jason Artley. I am a Senior Technical Specialist here at ATG. We are an Autodesk Platinum Partner and also a Platinum Partner with Bluebeam. I'm a Bluebeam Certified Support Representative, and it's a piece of software that I use quite a lot, even before and after ATG, that I find incredibly handy for any sort of PDF workflow. What we're going to be talking about today is how to set up Studio. It does require a separate free account. So if you haven't already done that and you're playing along, I would recommend getting that set up, and I'll walk you through that process shortly. So we'll talk about how to set up the Studio account. Then we're going to talk about Studio projects, and then we'll get into Studio sessions. And then we'll have a little bit of time at the end for question and answer. Excuse you. So I'll mute you for that one. All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be using Bluebeam Extreme, Bluebeam Review Extreme. And this comes in 3 or 4 different versions. There is Standard, there is Extreme, and there is CAD. There's also a free version, and there's also an iPad version. The Studio functions work on all of the versions. The differences are, in order to host one of these, you have to have a license. So why is this important? You know, most of you at LJA already have licenses. This will allow you to have, you know, other people outside of your firm participate in a studio, even if they don't have a Bluebeam license. And that's the important functionality, is that once we set up a studio project or a studio session, whoever joins that will have a full access to all of the tools. So it's incredibly handy for that function as well. All right. So let's go ahead and start looking at this. I'm in Bluebeam Review Extreme, as I mentioned, and this can be used in view mode. So here's just plain old view mode. But I'll go to my markup mode, which will give me the full host of tools here. And I'm in the profile for Review Advanced. So depending on what profile you're in inside of Review will control where these buttons lie. So in this case, in the Review Advanced profile, I will access my Studio button on the left side flyout panel. And it looks kind of like a 3D house, this icon that we're looking for. So when I select this, for most of you, it should say Bluebeam Studio, and it should ask you to sign in. So I'll go ahead and sign out so you can see what that looks like. So if you see this currently and you have a Bluebeam Studio account, go ahead and, go ahead and sign in. If you do not have an account, let's show you how to make one. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to choose sign in. And this will give you an option to create an account if you don't already have one. This is free. It's not going to cost the company anything. So fill this out accordingly. Give it a good name. Use your company email and give it a password, and it will give you an account. So with that, I'll enter in my information. I went too fast. There we go. Now I'm signed in, and it's going to give me access to my information. Now, for those of you playing along with me, I'm going to start up a project, and I'm going to show you how to join that project. So inside of Bluebeam Studio, there are 2 different ways to use this. There are studio projects and there are studio sessions. They have a very big difference, so we want to we'll address them separately. The first thing we're going to do is use studio projects. So these are discernible by the icon up at the top. Sessions kind of looks like an old chalkboard, and projects is just a square with some lines in it. So inside of projects, up at the top, we have this connected icon, and you should hopefully see a green dot showing that you are connected to the studio session. And with that means that if you become disconnected at any time, let's say you need to grab your laptop and head off to a meeting, and maybe you're working on the plane or the bus or whatever you do in that project or that session, it's going to sync back up when you're done. So you do have the offline capability as well once you have your stuff loaded, which is pretty cool. So in this project, this is where we're going to use this for file share. Kind of like a Dropbox or a Google Drive or something like that. But when we do this, we're going to be able to host a whole a lot of different types of files besides just a PDF. So we're going to call this LJA, and I'm going to generate this project. And once this pops up here, I'm going to go ahead and close that one. Here is my information, and now I see this LJA. At this point, I can manage this project, open this project here, and I can invite folks. So all of you on the call, you can also enter this information. Let me show you how to join a project. If you hit this add project symbol, you should all have this plus sign. If you go to join and you enter in this ID 502-124-804, you should be able to get in here. So I'd like it if some of you would hop in there, and I'm going to go ahead and upload some files while we're doing that. Again, you can see that number right here in bold if you want to type that in. So I'll add some files, and I'm just going to add some generic Bluebeam files that we can mess with. Let's give it this one. Give it these. Check the chat. It says permission denied. Okay, I'll open that up. Same thing. Okay, well, no problem. I'll go ahead and get that loaded, and we'll set this up accordingly. So if I go to my settings for this, there we go. I can manage permissions. So I'm going to go ahead and allow people in here. So see, it was set to deny. I'm going to let you all do whatever you want. So there's some defaults that you can set, and I guess mine were set for automatically denying people. I guess I wasn't being super nice. So I'll let you guys do what you want in this one. So now you should be able to get in here. And I'll show you how I can see other folks in here in a little bit as well. So this, now I'm not restricting, this is wide open. I don't recommend this outside of this training thing. We've got our number, total users 1. This number is going to jump up here shortly. So it should all be good to go at this point. And I've got some files. So these files that are loaded, everybody should have access to view it. I've got PDF files in here. If I wanted to upload a CAD file or you know, DWGs, doc files, Excel spreadsheets, whatever, all those can be put up here. I can create folders. I mean, it works very well for getting it configured. So if I want to invite more people or sync, add folders, what's nice about this is that if I were to go make changes to any of these files, you also have access to the revision history, right? So think about how we're going to use this. If we're working on a design team that's maybe, I mean, it could be internal or external. If we're working on this with the design team, how do we know who has the latest and greatest, right? This will automatically tell me what that stuff is, and I can add comments accordingly. If I want to open up a revision, I can even compare them. So I'll show you this here in just a moment. So if I open up this file, it is going to show that it's locked. So if someone else is trying to open up this revised, it might not work. I can always save as and make a copy of it, but I'll just go ahead and close that. But what this will do is once we have multiple versions, it's going to save that revision history. And in that revision history, once there's more things in there, okay, Suzanne was able to get in there, so most of you should be able to get in this at this point. If there was multiple versions, so it said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can compare them automatically, which is not automatically, but we can open those and it will open side by side so we can compare what's different. So fantastic functionality. So the project is mainly used as to be that central repository for everybody on the design team, right? So maybe I'm going to create a folder for architectural, and I can put those files in there. I can make a folder for civil, make one for electrical, and this should be changing on your side too. You should start seeing these new folders appear whenever you sync that, and you'll notice this little green icon. That's the sync thing. So if that's set to sync, whenever somebody else makes a change, you can do that. So everybody now has full access. So if you wanted to start uploading files just to see how it works, go for it. I'm going to delete this when we're done, so don't worry about that too much. So we can start putting things in here. We can put files. We can do those things. What I really like about this is not only the revision history, but how easy it is to share different files. So if I want to go grab, let me back up a little bit. If I want to upload files, I can just go to upload files. And how I'm getting to this is right-clicking on this icon next to LJA. So if you right-click on that, you're going to see the sync, the invite, new folders, upload, things like that. So I'm right-clicking on that icon, and I'm going to go to upload files. This will allow me to add whatever files I want. Now, what's neat about this too is that if I pull down on this arrow for add, if I had files open or a set open, it would automatically upload those. So I wouldn't necessarily need to browse to them if I didn't know, I wouldn't necessarily need to browse to them if I had them open. So I'll go in here, I'll see if I can find another file to upload here. Maybe not. We'll just leave it as our Bluebeam stuff then. I can put some specs up there. No, I don't want to do that. Those files are a little large. Throw that one up there. So we can see that uploading in real time. Gives me some different templates. So this is what you're going to use for your file share. Now what I can do with this is check it out, or I can download a copy. And again, I'm right-clicking on this to get these menus. So if there's a file that I want to download a copy of, I can do that, or I can check it out. And what's the difference of this? If I check it out, that should cause it to be pending on my side. That might make it so it's not available to you. That might make it so it's for me to make those changes. When I open this up, close my studio. Now I can make my changes in here. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go to my markups here. And before I do that, there was a question, can I drag and drop to add files to? Well, let's find out, shall we? I'll go to my plan set. Let's go to our accessibility details. And I'm just going to drag, move this over here. I'm going to drag this file into my architectural. And sure enough, there it goes. So you can absolutely drag and drop. You don't have to right click and do the upload thing, right? So that's a much faster way. I bet that I could also take these images here and drag this whole folder and see if that gives me a folder. I see it's uploading here at the top, and there you go. It grabbed that whole folder name as well. So it uploaded a folder full of images, some JPEGs. So extremely quick. You know, it has that same kind of function as Google Drive or Dropbox, or is that what you guys are using now? Probably something similar.
Here we go. Thank you, man. Good luck, John. Here we go. Whee!
All right, so I'll mute some folks in the back. All right, so with this, we've got this set up, and I've got a whole host of files. So you should be able to get in there accordingly. Now I only have one file open, right? And this is what I was hoping to see. So thanks for playing along. See this? Checked out by whomever that is at LJA. So that checkout, it shows me checked out. I can check it in. Now it's available for somebody else. I was just looking at this. I didn't make, ooh, fingers, any changes. All right, so now that's checked back in. I can close that, and now it's accessible to somebody else. So I see that my cursor is a little large, but it says it's available for checkout. So somebody else could grab that. So since this is checked out by him, if I open this up, I can open it, but it's going to be locked, right? So I can't do much to this. If I go try to mark this up, you'll notice I have no controls. Whereas if I open this file, now I have it checked out. If I go to my markups, I should have, that's weird. I should have all my tools. Oh, somebody else must have that open then. Weird. Available for checkout. So what would normally happen is it would allow me to have some controls where I can do my stuff. Now what I can do is I can go in here and download a copy, and then I can make my changes and then re-upload it, which would give me that revision history. So what this is doing is it's protecting our revisions, essentially, if that makes sense. Close that guy. Let's take a look at some of these folders, see if anybody uploaded anything. So there's our files. All right, so this becomes our central repository. If we go make changes, that's when he's got checked out, right? Yeah, there we go. So it was checked in by Suzanne. I got that here. So that revision history is great, because what this will do is if I open this revision, see how it put them in order. If I open that revision, I can also restore too if I make changes. Good question. Can you free a file that someone has been sitting on or they left for vacation? Not that that would ever happen, right? But it does happen. So what do you do if that file is there? What you'd probably have to do would have to just download a copy of it. So even though this is checked out, I can download a copy, and then I would make my changes and then put it back up, and I would say, you know, I'd have to give it a different name. So I would lose the revision history part of it, but if I named it properly or put some comments in it, you know, that would help tell it apart. But yeah, if this is checked out by somebody else, see, and I'm guessing you guys don't see this revoke checkout because I'm the host of this studio project. I have additional functionality. So I could take this away So that was your question. Could I take it away? Yes, I can take it away because I'm the admin of it, which would be kind of mean. But yeah, so Suzanne's in the chat says she doesn't see revoke checkout. That's what I see since I'm the admin of this. All right. So I can go to the properties. I can go see it's locked. I can't do anything with it. I see the created date. So the session project is fantastic for that function. All right. So what's the difference between a session project and a session studio? Well, the studio, or see, the language gets me every time. Studio projects and studio sessions are different things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take one of these files. Let's take this accessibility details. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to add to a new session. LJA. And I'm going to hop over there into that session once it shows up. There we go. Here's my LJA. I'm going to hop into this guy. I'm going to go ahead and close this project. I'll go to my settings here, make this open to all of you. I certainly want some folks to join me on this one because this is a little bit more fun than the projects. So it's not restricted. It should be wide open. Everybody can do continue, pending, allow. Okay. There we go. I got a couple folks in here. So what's the difference between a studio session and a studio project? And that's that the studio session is meant for real-time collaboration, right? This is for all of us to get in here. We're going to start looking at some files. We're going to be able to collaborate. And you can see that my lights are going off because everybody's joining. This is fantastic. So, you know, we kind of got some COVID coronavirus thing going on. Some of us are working remotely. Some of us, you know, are separated from our team, or we're working with folks that are separated remotely. How do we recreate that gathering in the conference room to go over a set of plans scenario? And that's exactly what studio sessions are for. So how this works is I can open up projects. So I'll jump back over to a project. I'm just going to grab some more files, add to existing session, LJA. See how that works? I'm going to right click, add to existing session, LJA. So I'm taking files from my projects, linking them over to my session, and you'll notice that the icons are changing, right? So now we go over there, we see additional documents in here. So what's happening is now that you're all a part of this, if I close my project and go to my session here and open up a file, I'll open up this one, for example. So I've seen multiple people are in this. I can see what people are in. You know, and what's kind of fun about this, not to put somebody on the spot, but there's a highlight, right? It's exactly what I want to see. I'm getting a full track of who's doing what. So there's a record in here. If I go to notifications, I can do these things. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to make a change. If I go to my markup, everybody should have access to the markup tools now. And this is where the whole licensing thing that I kind of hinted at comes into play. Even if you don't have a license of Bluebeam Review, anybody who's able to access this through the view mode of review will have a full access to the tools. So if I want to add a file, it's not going to be Men's Room. It's going to be Baby Yoda's room from now on, right? So I'm making that change. If I take a look at my record, it should say Move Image. Now what I can do is I can make this change and I can right click and I can alert an attendee. So if I really want Suzanne to know that I put this Baby Yoda thing in here, I alerted it to her. She's going to get this thing popping up on her screen saying that Jay Artley wants you to take a look at this, right? And that's That's pretty great, right? We can collaborate. We can also chat with one another. So if I come down here at the bottom, hey, do you want to grab a taco after this? Sorry, I'm not being very creative, and you know, it's lunchtime here. So we can chat in here. We can do all this stuff, and it's fantastic because we can collaborate. I can see, you know, what's going on. Well, you know, you're also watching my screen, right? I'm sharing my screen through Zoom, so you can see what I'm doing, but what's everybody else doing? And what I can do is I can right click on anybody's name and follow that attendee. So if I want to go see what's on Suzanne's screen right now, I can see what she sees. So if she starts moving around and maybe she's in a different file or she starts zooming, my screen is going to follow what she's doing, right? So I'll stop moving my cursor. Move your cursor, Suzanne, so it shows up again. So you can see it kind of moving around. It's that yellow checkbox. So I see exactly where her mouse is right now. So if she were to zoom or use any of the other tools, I can see exactly what she's doing. So maybe we're not on a Zoom call or we're not on the thing. I can follow what they're doing. So think about this in a collaborative manner. You know, how can we do this? How can we get that accountability? Check my notifications. See, there we go. He wants me to go take a look at this link measurement. You see, I click on it, and it takes me right there. So very cool function. You know, it's way better than saying, hey, over on detail 14, right about the middle there. No, to your left, to your right. You know what I'm talking about? That's all going to work. So we can see all the markups that you guys are adding. Thank you so much for playing along. You know, that's fine and all, but then what? What else can you do with this? Well, what's nice is that if we're having a meeting, and especially if we're construction coordination or BIM coordination or something like that, we've got, you know, so many folks in here, and let's say this meeting was really important. We made a big change, like, hey, everybody stop. We're going to have to do this. How do you know that people saw it? You know, I got a lot of folks in here. I can't keep track of everybody. Well, I can come down to the bottom near the chat and add a report. And I can have it combine files and give me a whole PDF package report. It's going to take all of the files that we've gone over with all of the changes, and it will go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll create this, include attendees list, include all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. Hit OK. And I'm just going to save it on my desktop so I can find it. It's going to take a couple minutes. It's going to give me this thing. And here we go. Here's my PDF package. So if I open up my documents, there are the files that are a part of this, and we can see those here. And if I go home, there's a report. And this is what I was after. Here's my attendees, right? So these are all the people that have joined my studio session. These are all the documents that are a part of that studio session. And notice this is a hyperlink. So if I wanted to click on it, it would take me to that page. Now I can see who joined, when they joined, what they did. So Rama added a highlight. They added a length measurement. I added an image. And notice it's a hyperlink as well. So if I click on this, it's going to take me to that spot where he did that. You know, and why is that important? Because in every project, not naming names, not pointing fingers, there's always somebody who said, oh, I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't know. This allows you that record. And it's super handy for one, because it's automated, right? I don't have to manually go in here and figure out who joined it. If I spit out this record, then I can see what happened. Like, hey, I don't remember that note being there. Oh, well, it was rejected at 12:03. You guys are awesome. Thanks for messing around with this stuff while it's open. So I'm going to go ahead and close that report. I can go back to my studio session. Now you'll notice on my display, I have this file opened twice. If you notice, there's an icon here that is the same as that studio session, right? There's that studio session icon. So this one is part of the session. This is a one from my report that was packaged up, right? So I'm guessing if I come over here, it's going to be different because you guys have been messing with stuff, right? So very cool. So this is the accessibility details. Let's go take a look at that site plan because I see there's a couple people in that one, right? So I'll open up the site plan and we'll see what's going on there. So I see there's a cloud and there's a squiggly line. Well, who did what, right? So if I go over here and go to my markups list, I should see in my markups list, J. Rangel, Junior Angel, something like that. Sorry for picking on your name, not picking on it, but not pronouncing it right. I can see who did what there as well too in the markups list. So hopefully you're already using the markups list inside of Bluebeam Review. But yeah, Julio, there we go. Perfect. Thanks for that, Suzanne. So again, that's a perfect use for the chat, right? She could have used the Zoom chat, but instead she used the Bluebeam Studio chat. So awesome, awesome functionality. And today's session is all about the studio, both the studio projects and the studio sessions. So we're using this in real time to mess with things. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add an area measurement just because I love this tool. Measure, dynamic fill. I'm going to measure an area of this spot here. So I'll set this to area. So I'll let that do its thing. And I will apply that measurement. Where'd it go? Interesting. There we go. Now it was added. So if I had this set up for, doing my measurements for grass or gravel or whatever, I can add these measurements. Then you're seeing here on my on the record that I added the measurement, that it's been edited because I moved the label location. But that's happening in real time. So instead of 5 people in a conference room looking over a printed set of plans, we've got 20 some odd people in this at the same time working on the same exact file that's hosted up on the cloud. And speaking of the cloud, that's probably another thing I should discuss. These Bluebeam Studio files are up on the cloud and they are in the US. There is a new one for Bluebeam Studio UK, but you can also manage servers. So if you had your own server, so again, you're adding more protection to this, you're limiting it to people inside of LJA, you can host it there as well. If you use the Bluebeam Studio stuff on the cloud, on that Bluebeam studio.bluebeam.com server, I don't think that there is a file limitation when it comes to size, right? So you can host a couple of gigs up there. I don't think it's a huge deal. But obviously the more stuff you have in there, the longer it's going to take to sync up. So figured I'd mention that. So one question, I'm not getting access to all the tools in session. Interesting. You should be able to. So make sure that you're inside of a file. So, open up maybe the summary report template. Looks like nobody else is in that one. And if I put that here, you should go to tools and be able to see everything there. All right. Okay. Open, yeah, open the file in your project session, not the studio. Another question, is it possible to change the scale if the scale is set incorrectly? Try it, you should be able to. So if you go to the site plan, for example, and this is set to, 12-inch equals a foot, I can still calibrate. I should be able to calibrate accordingly. When I use this one, I normally use the parking stall. Oh, that's new. I haven't seen that before. This document is in a session and has an embedded scale. Any updates to scale below will apply only to the new measurements I create. So this means that it's only going to affect the measurements that I make. It's not going to have anything to do with anybody else's. So if Isaac is looking to do something, our scales are going to be different. Interesting. So on he's saying in the chat that the scale is grayed out. So since I'm in control of this, maybe it's going to let me do it. So that's a great question that hasn't come up before. So this means that I want to make sure my files are set up properly prior to uploading them into a session or a studio project, right? Another question from Grant, is there a way to import measurements from Bluebeam into an Excel spreadsheet? Yes, there absolutely is. It does require Bluebeam Review Extreme. So if you have Bluebeam Review Extreme, then you can use the quantity link. If you come up to the top left corner and go to About, it will tell you what version you're in. And I think there's a couple Extreme licenses floating around LJA. I'm not positive what you guys are all on. But if you have Extreme, then you can use a quantity link. I'm already inside of Excel, shockingly, and I right click and I would have this quantity link function, which would allow me to create a link that would go to a certain PDF and it would read right off of that that markups list. All right. So if I had measurements in here like this one, I could point to this cell inside of Excel and it would read this value. If I took this value and then it were to change, right? So if I go in here and mess with this area measurement and this changes, it's going to update on Excel too. So it's pretty darn cool. Yeah, Suzanne has a standard. She's not going to have that quantity link function. Next question. If you export the CSV report of the comments, would it pull the quantities in well, and couldn't you filter them? So yes, you can pull them out. Absolutely. The quantity link allows it to be dynamic. So that means that once it's set up and I have that link between Excel and Bluebeam Review, if I need to add more information or add more quantities, Excel uploads automatically or updates automatically. If I'm exporting not my session report, but my markups list, doing a CSV summary, include markups and totals. You want to make sure that's set up right, have it open. No annotations match. Filter none, show all columns. Maybe that's it. There we go. So there we go. I exported my markups list. There's my comments. So then there's the quantities you could pull. So that answers Matt's question there. But again, that's not dynamic. That's just a screenshot in time. So can it be done? Absolutely, without Extreme. That function to export export comments should work on everybody's current version of Review. So let's jump over to Suzanne's comment. How do we put a dynamic stamp on to approve stuff if we have time? If anybody has more questions, they don't have to necessarily involve Studio. We've got about 15 minutes left since we got a late start. If you have any questions related to Review at all, feel free to use the Zoom chat box or the Studio chat box, and we can go over those questions. One of the things that we wanted to train on, Suzanne and I were talking via email about, you know, some of the training opportunities that we have for Bluebeam and Civil 3D and whatever software you guys want. But one of the things we want to talk about was doing dynamic stamps and digital signatures. So when it comes to digital signatures, I don't know if this is going to work inside of this session, so I'm just going to open up a different file. What's in here? Oh, I was testing something. So if I want to do a stamp, right? Review comes with a number of stamps automatically, which are pretty darn cool. We've got approved and date and engineering review and different seals and things like that. But these are all highly customizable. So if I were to take this seal, for example, and whenever you hover over those, you'll see this little pencil icon that will take you to an edit function. So here I can give this information. I can give this here. I can come in here and add some text. So if I wanted to say, Jason approves, I can choose my text, my, whatchamacallit. Let me change my profile here. I'm missing my buttons, kind of lost. I can choose my, font size. I want that to be bigger. Maybe a 16. Let's put that in the middle. Let's make it blue. So there's my stamp, right? Now this obviously can be very customized to put, like if you want to put your Texas engineering seal, you can do that too. Whether or not that's legal, that's kind of up to you. I'm not going to make that choice for you, but so now if I want to go stamp this thing, whenever I go use that one, there we go. So that's just a symbol, right? The stamp isn't exactly serving as a signature, but it's putting that stamp in there, and there's all those collections of things in here. There's always an ability to create from scratch, import from other things, create a stamp folder or change your stamp folder. So this would allow me to browse to my server. You know, maybe I've got everybody's collection up on your server. You can navigate to that. And then when I'm ready to be done with it, I can sign or certify the document. So I work from home full time, even pre-COVID. So I do this a lot, actually. I go in and I sign documents in order to, you know, do my HR stuff for ATG. So I can create my spot where my signature would go. It's going to ask me for a login. So this is password protected. I don't know that I have this one memorized. Nope. Yeah, it'd take me a couple of tries to get my password, and I think it will lock me out. But what this will do is once that signature is in there, it'll go in and lock down this file, so I can't make any more changes to it. But I can change my appearance of my thing too. So if I want Baby Yoda, or if I want to do a scan of my actual signature, I can do that. I can give it my distinguished name, my location, my reason. You know, you can give all this stuff in here. Choose your different files, choose your graphic, you know, so you can customize this quite a bit. And I've seen people go in and make it so it looks just like their wet stamp with a wet signature. So you have that capability. It does take a little customization, and perhaps that's where we'll have another Bluebeam training session in the future. If you want to know more about how to make that match your stamp, we can get into that sort of customization. But I just wanted to briefly mention it because it is possible, right? So yeah, once that's signed on here, it will have you, you know, lock up the change, or lock it so you can't make any more changes, and then go from there. All right. So let's see. Let's go take a look at our record. Looks like still making some areas over here. Are you clicking points for that? So let's talk about a couple things. Shameless plug. Next Tuesday, I'm going to be doing a webinar on Bluebeam Review and how to use it for civil. So we're going to be talking about taking some measurements and profiles, how to measure a site plan for quantities. If we're going to do concrete, gravel, things like that, we're going to be configuring Bluebeam for that. So if you're interested in checking out that webinar, that will be at 12 p.m. noontime Central next Tuesday. So we'll answer some of those questions there as well, and that will, of course, be recorded and put on our YouTube channel later. So just kind of peeping in here, seeing what you guys are doing. Got some areas in here. Looks like you're trying to do a polylength command. Some good stuff there. So in this session, what I've done was, I'm not going to save that. I'm going to close this. In this session, what I did was I had this configured to be pretty open. But of course, I can restrict attendees too. And if I want to send this to somebody, I can copy this invitation, just open up my email, and 5 hours later, if I go to new, that invitation would look like this, right? So it's going to give you the name, the ID, and the URL. So it would give you an opportunity to check that out. You can also go in there and email folks. There is an invite button. So if I click on this and I add their email addresses, it will send it automatically. Notice that you are limited to 500 attendees. I mean, this has been pretty crazy with just 20 folks in there, but you can do that. So pretty cool stuff all here. You can create groups. So if I wanted just a group for LJA people and maybe for the architect team or whatever, I can create groups using the group icon. Question, how do I move the area callout? Oh yes, a very, very frustrating function of review, right? We create this nice area and you try to move it and it moves the whole area instead of just moving the label. What you want to do there is hold down the shift key. And if you click on the shift key, it will allow you to move just the label. So there's all sorts of cool things you can do inside of review with the shift key or the control key. So sometimes when you're messing around with stuff and you're not getting the results you want, or maybe you want it to change, try holding down the control key and you'll see that you'll get additional options. If I hold down shift, nothing happens. If I hold down control, now I can see, I can reset my caption, I can open pop-up notes, I can do some of my status stuff accordingly. Hopefully that answered your question. I see some things moving around here. All right, next question. Can I show status and how it works? Absolutely. So I see some of you, if I take a look at my record here, I thought I saw someone adjust the status, which was pretty clever. So what the status does, and you might have seen that right there when I had hold down control, there's an ability to set a status, right? I can accept, reject, cancel, complete, or none. I can always go in and create, I mean, that's another customizable thing where I can change my options there. But if I want to accept this, I can do that, which means that in my markups list, I see that status. There we go. So some of these have been set as accepted. Hopefully some will. Suzanne, this cloud needs to cover the entire area. Disagree, rejected. Sorry. So we can reject those things, right? So those statuses allow you another way to collaborate and keep that record. So I rejected that. I should probably say why. Like this will get that in the next phase or whatever. All right, so I can add additional comments to not just reject it, but to say why. Or, you know, maybe we're rejecting it because it's for something else. And those status things, of course, stay with us when we go to do our summaries. So I can go through here, accepted set. So yeah, instead of, you know, normally when we're doing red lines or whatever, we're approving them somehow, or we're marking them as done, right? If I'm using review, or I should take that back. If I'm doing red lines on paper, right? So someone else has marked up my page. There's a bunch of red lines on it. When I'm done with making that change, I usually highlight it with a pen. That way I keep track of what I'm doing, right? In a paperless workflow with review, I can do the same thing. I can obviously use the highlight tool and go in and highlight those changes to say that I'm done. Or I can use my status and escape from there, find that comment, set a status, accepted, completed, right? So that way I have a full record. And why is this handy? Because if I'm doing red lines, right? Let's say this was only for red lines. What I could do is after I'm done marking it up, I can export that PDF summary. So let me go a little slower so you saw where I get that button, because it is kind of tricky to get to. On the markups list, there's this little clipboard looking thing. I go to PDF summary. I can make that. I do want to, this one isn't going to work inside of a session. Let me go to this one instead. There we go. This one's got changes to it. So I'll go PDF summary here. Maybe. Weird. That one's not letting me do it either. Okay, I'll open up a different data set. So this file is one that Bluebeam gave me for demonstrating stuff. But what I can do here is I've got all these markups, right? These are all red lines. They're architectural, so we'll ignore them. But if I go create that PDF summary, there we go. This is the button I was looking for, append and hyperlink. This isn't by default set on Bluebeam Review. So I would recommend setting this and it will keep that setting. But I can take those markups, kind of like what we did before with the CSV. And now I have a condensed list of what those things are, right? So if I'm going through these as red lines, I can attack these one at a time. Oh, perfect. Emergency egress, done. You know, I can see the different comments. And since I selected that option to append and hyperlink, that means that if I want to go to this, you'll notice my cursor changes. All I got to do is click on it, and it's going to take me right there. So now I can make that adjustment, fix that issue, set my status as completed, and I can move on, right? So if I'm using review only for doing red lines, I can always open up this markups list and see what's been completed. And if I see something that hasn't been completed, that's another opportunity to go check and see what's going on. All right. Trying to see inside. Let me go back to our session there. So here's our session where we were. Show an alert. So what we're doing was, how do I let somebody know about something? So if I go here, I'm going to add a markup. Use Cloud Plus, one of my favorites. If I want somebody to know, I know that's not the right thing because, actually here, let me make it the right thing. Oh, I can't. Dirty dog. I can't erase content from this. But if I wanted to alert somebody on this command, if I right click, nothing happens. There we go. If I right click, then I can see alert attendee. So since I had already alerted Suzanne, her name pops up here. That's keeping me from having to see this whole list of 20 folks in here, right? But if I want to go in and find, oh, I don't know, all of you. Now I alerted everybody, and I can see my list coming up here. Look at this. Alerted everybody. So your notifications should go blinking. And at this time, it's going to say, Jason Artley alerted you to this note. So that's one way to alert it, to show something what they're responsible for. I can't necessarily assign this to somebody for what they would want to do, but this is where the properties of that could be done. So close some stuff here. Hopefully you've noticed, actually, if I open up my stuff here on this markups list, there's always a list of approved area measurement, cloud, pen, whatever. What you can do, another way that you can customize this, is give it a subject. So my note there is set to Cloud Plus, right? I see Cloud Plus here. If I change this to Suzanne as the subject, I can essentially assign that comment to that person, right? So if I go in here and start making a whole bunch of comments, blah, 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 go to the properties of that. That subject is Suzanne. So if I fill it out as the subject, we're going to start to see a big list of here. There we go. So that's one way that I can sort of assign stuff to people. This also is really handy for, doing things such as when you're doing your measurements or you're separating by architect versus somebody else, use your subject there. All right. So we got that. And I know we got a little bit of a late start due to some Zoom issues, but we're about at the time. I want to be respectful of the time that we've got set aside. And I want to thank you all for your patience as we got a little late start there. But I hope this has been helpful to help you with the Bluebeam Studio functions. This session has been recorded and it will be edited, and I'll send this over to Arcada to get distributed later, just in case you ever want to come back to it. I will be making sure that these studios disappear. So what I can do is I'll actually go ahead and kill this studio while we're in here. Go to the setting. I can have this expire. So I'm going to have this expire today at 1 p.m. So it gives you about 20 minutes left to play with this. And I can choose, do I want to be notified for this studio session? I can have it send me an email. I can have it let me know when things have been updated. But what will happen is that this is going to end in 20 minutes and it's just going to go away. So pretty handy. Just means more emails for whomever is being hosted. Hopefully that doesn't email everybody on the list, but we'll see what we get. All right. So with that, we will wrap up for the day. I'll be working with RK and Suzanne to do some more of these things. Again, if you have some other questions, I see the question about the area fill. I'm going to be doing a free webinar on Tuesday that's talking about Bluebeam for Civil. It'll be an hour long as well, 45 minutes to an hour. Hop in Tuesday and I'll be covering some of these things. I won't be touching the studio as much, but we'll talk about some of those other things. And again, if you ever want more training on Bluebeam, talk to Suzanne or RK, and we'll go from there. If you want to know how to get to the webinar, our stuff can always be found at HEGUSA.com. There is a web browser inside of Bluebeam, in case you didn't know. And if you go to the Events tab, you should see an option for Tuesday. ATG webinar using Bluebeam for civil workflows. And if that link works, there we go, you can register here. And yeah, if you don't know, RK is Randy McSwain. He's your IT CAD guru guy. He'll be able to help you with some of this, and he's in charge of all of our training opportunities that we've got set up between ATG and LJA. So with that, I will let you guys go. Thank you again for your time, your patience, your participation. This has been fun for me. I hope everybody got something from this, and we'll see you in the next one.